Hey, we in there? All right, what's up, you guys? It's your boy Three Stickity in this thing, baby, representing TKOG, and this is gonna be the first video I'm making in my new crib, you guys. Oh, bro, I mean, dude, man, I really had to just take a break from a lot of things and just focus on improving my quality of life. And there's just a lot of things that I wasn't really comfortable in the space that I was in, but thank you, Lord Jesus, because I'm blessed right now. I have not just what I need, but this time I got what I want. And it's seldom that I would do that. My mindset was always like, I just need, just what I need. I never really, and I put limitations on God. I feel like I put limitations on my prayers. It's like, oh, I just need a roof over my head. Oh, I just need a car. I was like, bro, no, I want a Mustang. I like sports cars. I want a Mustang. I don't want just any place. Like, I want a storage unit. I want a washer and dryer built in it. I like patios. I like pantries. I'm very particular about my kitchens. I cook. I'm a chef. I love to cook. So I like my kitchens to have a lot of kitchen space. So I was like, you know what? I'm not just gonna ask for what I need. I'm gonna ask for what I want, and I'm gonna work for it. And that's what I did, and that's what I got. So I'm really happy right now. This is the virtual world list that I've been fine tuning a lot. And I say I've changed it so many times, you guys. Oh my goodness, we're gonna talk about it. But before we get into it, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. Make sure when you do subscribe, click the notification bell and drop a comment or a like to support the algorithm. I'm learning how much more valuable that is, and I didn't realize that before. And if you guys want to support this channel, there are multiple ways you could do it. You can either sign up for the Patreon, and you can get exclusive Patreon member content, which also is going to involve mentorship and coaching. You also can join the Discord, which is like one of the best things you could do, because the Discord is just a huge community outside of YouTube where people can connect, share ideas, and it really, to me, it's just another social media, and it's just like a really, really big community, and I like it a lot. So those are just things that are options to you if you would like so. But yeah, this is the list. I had to optimize it again. The format changed in the middle of me finishing out the build, and I just decided, dude, I'm just gonna go back to the original approach that I had. The concept in building virtual worlds that I always valued the most was just I had to put more importance on my ability to play than my ability to stop my opponent from playing. And this is a common, it's an error that's made in a lot of deck building. It's the process of deck building for a lot of people, even some of the best players. We oftentimes value our ability to deny our opponent from playing out of the fear that they wouldn't let us play with the inboard they would make, over valuing our own ability to play. So what that meant was there was a lot of consistency cards and a lot of engine requirements, or not requirements, but I would say engine enhancements that would really make my deck a lot more powerful, able to navigate through hand traps better, and to just be able to have a higher chance of drawing at least two starters. A playable hand to me is at least two starters. If you have one starter, it's barely playable because one hand trap means you can't play. Luckily with Virtual World, if the one hand trap is like Valor or Imperm, it's not that bad. Or if it's like DD Crow, it's not that bad. But if it's like Ash, Bell, or Gamma, you literally can't play. So because of that, I just felt like, again, Virtual World's a deck where you really want to value your ability to play more than the stopping your opponents. Because let's say I drew like 4 or 5 hand traps. That's great. I could stop my opponent from playing. But the thing is, like, board breakers and neutralizers and hand traps, anything that simplifies the game state, they really aren't valuable by themselves. And I think people really need to understand that fine line. Like, you can't just stop your opponent from playing. You have to have some type of follow-up. A hand trap with no follow-up or engine just doesn't really do anything. Your opponent might as well have put up 0 interruptions because they didn't have to stop you from playing in the first place because you couldn't play. You only had cards that stopped them from playing, which is not that good. I'd rather draw all engine than draw all hand traps, And so that's just what I had to do. There's sacrifices that have to be made, but the sacrifices are necessary when you want your deck to be able to play competitively. If you want to play for fun, then you don't really care about playing hand traps or anything like that. So I just decided board breakers are better and consistency cards because my engine is very resilient. The virtual world engine's really good. There is a certain diversity of interruption that your opponent has to have in order to even be able to stop you from playing. All the other interruptions can only be used once you've already began to play, meaning your engine, some of the functionality is already progressing the game state for you. You've already got certain things that are set and packed, meaning no matter what happens, I'm getting this GG in phase ad. I already have a Qinglong engraved for next turn, so no matter what happens, I can still play. And that's the beauty of this deck. Cards like Valor and Imperm and DD Crow and Droplet and Chalice, those cards are cool, but they're not going to prevent you from playing. They can only be used once you've begun to play. So there's a certain requirement when it comes to disruptions when you're playing with this deck. It can obviously insulate Dark Ruler in certain occasions. You know, you can insulate Nibiru. There's a lot of ways that this deck can set up boards that allow you to beat cards that normally would break your board, while also giving you protection against the highest impact hand trap that you feel is gonna hurt you the most. What the heck was that? Okay. But yeah, let's get into the list, you guys. I just felt like that was really important to know because I've been just messing around with this list so much. I even ended up cutting my talents, which I love talents so much, but you guys are going to see the issue that I have, and that's why this is where I'm at right now with the list. So we're going to just lay out all the names. I play 3 of every single name. The value of Gigi and Lily is them being worms means they are searchable through emergence because this is a virtual world Swordsoul list. And the synergistic properties between both engines are amazing. The virtual worlds are a little bit more, a lot more valuable to me because with the way my list is set up and how I built it, my full combo can get me to my Swordsoul cards without ever drawing them. But with the Swordsoul cards, they can only get you to your virtual world cards to a certain extent. Like Chixiao can grab emergence can grab Gigi or Lily because you know Chixiao searches. You have a synchro, you can grab a worm, but you still need a virtual world name to target. You know, there's like a better, more optimal combo. Like there's like Emergence plus Qinglong. Both gives you a name to target and a name to hand, which is great. You know, it's amazing. Like you can Baxia, target Qinglong, bring back a Gigi, and like Qinglong search a Lulu. So like your Swordsoul cards can enable and facilitate your virtual world plays, but it's more clunky and it loses harder to hand traps that your deck has no business losing to. So that's why I still, even though I mix the virtual world with the Swordsouls, the virtual world is still like the heart and soul of the deck. It's still like the membrane. It's you know, it's the glue that holds everything together. The Swordsouls are more of like a nice to have because they do give me options that virtual worlds just don't have access to. Synchros, lines of plays that I can't really make. The ability to go for game quicker and to be able to break boards even more efficiently. A lot more pressure. You know, a lot more, even better recovery, even though this deck's recovery is already amazing. There's really good reasons, honestly, and the Swordsouls actually do make your deck more consistent. So I like that a lot, just having more options. It's really, really good, especially navigating boards. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, if you guys have seen, I'm going to be uploading more of those breakup boards. They're just kind of insane. Like, there's hands where I'm just, like, pushing. And I'm like, oh, my Moyi gets stopped. I just E-Telly, and then I go for Yazi, and then I go pop, draw. Summon out Taiye go for Chixiao grab emergence, grab myself a Lily, activate Lily, targeting the Chuche. It's insane what this deck can do once it gets going, but the problem is getting going, and that's where, again, the composition of your deck building has a huge influence on that, on whether or not you can even do those kind of things, because the reality of it is you're never playing solitaire. Your opponent, you just have to assume, when I play my decks, I just have to assume that I'm just not going to be able to play. So I'm always putting myself in the worst case scenario, meaning my best play has to be my last play. You know, the way I orchestrate my plays, you know, chronologically, the best has to be the last. Typically, you know, that's how you should play, but most of the time people don't. Because sometimes when you're playing around cards like maybe like Droll, you know, your best play has to go first. But I play as if my opponent has the hand trap that would stop what I need to resolve. So I try to navigate my plays a little bit different. So that way, you know, it looks like my hand's not as optimal, so my opponent might want to hand trap a card that normally they wouldn't, because it looks like this is the only play I have, but now I'll hold that Lulu, you know, I'll hold that Moyi, I'll hold that emergence, and that helps you a little bit. It doesn't always work. Some people really are just so set that maybe they only have the Ash, and they're like, I'm not ashing anything except Lulu, you know, maybe they're just like, nothing else threatens me except Chuche. I have Dark Ruler, so I need to ash Lulu so he can't get access to Chuche, so when I Dark Ruler him, he has to either have a hand trap or I'm just going to win, you know? So it works, but to an extent, but it definitely helps. So these are all the monsters. As you can clearly see, I only play one of each Swordsoul monster. I did not like the Clunk. I don't like Ecclesia. I don't like more than any of these at one. They're perfect where they are. Your full combo can get access to these. You can make Yazi in your full combo. And you can use Chuche to pop Yazi, and you can summon either one of these. Or if you just need a 6 to go for a Baron line, you can do that. I do like the Long Young too. There's like arguments to just not play it, because most of the time when you can get access to it through the main combo, like you're already playing in a nib. So if you didn't get Crystal Wing, you know, searching this, you're just playing even harder in a nib, and it's like such a huge trade. You know, you're losing three to four cards in hand from your combo to one nib. But the better hands that you have, where like you start with Emergence, you know, and you have like access to a worm, you can summon Baron, you know, on your third summon, and then go into Crystal Wing and keep comboing, which is really, really good. So I value the Long Young and the pressure, you know, the ability to be able to burn. Speaking of, like, this was a card I was thinking about playing in my extra deck, but honestly, I just decided to side deck it because, you know, you always have to have a way to win in time, and I felt like this just wasn't enough. But it is another alternate route that you can make, which again just gives you something else to be able to win in time. So there's like the pros and cons when it comes to, like, when you compare the value that the Sword Souls give you versus playing without them. There's not really a lot that like, it's like what they give to you is so much more than what you wouldn't have without them. Like, basically, if I took these out, I would just be playing more going second cards, right? Just more cards to, like, break my opponent's board. But again, we've already established my mindset and my approach when it comes to building this deck. So I feel like what they give is so much more than what a hand trap or a going second card can give me. It's just way too valuable, and it's so much more pressure. It's so much more powerful. There's so many more plays that you can make, and there's so many more comebacks and just instances where a two hand trap's just not enough, because just the matter that, like, your deck doesn't always need a normal summon and you can hold that Taie, it just as like a last ditch effort. It's kind of insane, you guys. The Sword Soul cards are just so good in this deck. And honestly, I just really like that the virtual worlds can always access these whenever you need to. So those are like the best monsters in your deck. For more starters, we are playing 3 emergence. So essentially, you have the 3 emergence, the 3 targets. Sometimes you do use emergence to search for your Lily or your Gigi though, which is super duper clutch, you guys. And then I am on 3 Foolish Barrel Goods. Originally, because I sold my prosperities, what I wanted to do was play 2 goods and 2 desires and keep it like that. But I don't know where my desires are. I have like 3 commons and 2 ultras, and I just don't know where they are. When I moved, my cards kind of got disorganized, and I put everything where it needs to go, and I just still don't know where my desires are. So I guess I just have to buy more, because I lost my gold rare E-Tellies too. Don't know where those are. But yeah, Foolish Barrel Goods is just one of those cards where, like, there's controversy behind whether or not you want to play it, but I don't really care about what other people say. What I value is my experience, you know, and in my experience, if a card works for me, I don't care what other people say. I don't care if somebody's going to tell me it's not good, it's not optimal, you shouldn't play it, or it's not going to, like, again, I need to play. This deck bricks way more than it should, and that's just alone is what makes it so unappealing. When you look at this as an archetype, as an option, there's so many better picks, right? But there's something that I really like about this deck, because it just does things that other decks just can't do, and the true utility and, like, the toolbox that this deck has, it really does come from the extra deck. This deck can make cards that just other decks just really can't, and it also can make cards that it has no business making. Cards like Kaliga, cards like Mirror Jade, cards like Dragoon. You know, now you have access to 8s and 10s, so you have, like, all the stuff Sword Souls can make, this deck can make as well. You have just so many more options now. It's really, really good. You can even make Dweller, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I don't play Dweller because it's just, like, you don't really want to go out of your way for it because it's too much work, but the fact that you can just make XYZs, like rank 4s in this deck, is crazy. But Goods is either an extender or it's just a starter. I just value this. This is literally just 3 more Lulus. You know, I don't care that, oh, now when you resolve Lulu, you can't activate Qinglong. Bro, like, when you really think about it, like, I wasn't going to activate Qinglong in the first place if I didn't draw this. You know, you need more starters in this deck. So, honestly, when I found my desires, I'm probably going to keep this at 3 and just play 2 desires. If I had prosperity, I would do exactly what I was doing back then. I was playing, it was 2 no, actually I was playing 3 prosperity, 3 desires, 3 goods, 3 dark ruler, 3 talents, and 3 mystic mind. That was my approach back then. But with the space issues now, I would do 2 foolish hero goods, 2 desires, 2 prosperity, because I have 6 extra other cards, the Sword Soul cards, and 2 talents, you know, but I would have to, like, find space. But right now, this is where it's at, and honestly, consistency is what I'm just valuing the most. And let's go. So Kowloon and also Qinglong. So these are starters simply because of the Sword Soul cards. Like, normally these cards by themselves do nothing, but because of the Sword Soul cards, these are like everything now. Like, you could draw these and your hands are playable. And these are kind of insane, like up against Toad, like in the Splight matchup. To just be able to have grounds like that, it's kind of nuts. Like, yo, like, because you're able to play without controlling monsters. So, like, the first Toad negate might hurt a little bit, but the next play you make, you know, they can't just, like, Elf, bring back Toad until you've resolved a hand effect, which means, like, you've already gotten to a point where you can play. So I really like that. Like, I just like the way this deck operates, and it's more like the play style, I think. I think it's just the way that this deck makes its boards. It's just the way that this deck operates that just is so appealing to me. Because like, you know, it's a bricky deck, and it's not like it makes the best inboards. It's not like it has the best anything. It doesn't really have the best anything. It's just good, you know. It's just well rounded. It's versatile. It can play cards like Skill Drain and Floodgates and Mystic Mine just because of how good Chuche is, and you know you have built-in outs to cards like those as well. It's just so good, you know. I really like it a lot. I just like how this deck operates, how everything activates and resolves in hand. It's such a good playstyle. I really like it a lot. These cards are kind of insane going second too. Like if you draw these plus Gamma, it's just, oh my goodness, it's everything. Yeah, bro, it's everything. Like the Gamma plays with this deck are insane. I've gone like activate the chain Ash Gamma, and then I normal Moyi and I get Imperm. Then I used Moyi plus the Gamma to synchro into Charge Warrior, draw 2, and then overlay Charge Warrior and the driver into Fan Fan, clear a card, activate Lulu targeting Fan Fan, dump Chinglong. It was insane. Bro, I was like, yo, I'm just nice right now. Like, I feel like I'm so good at this deck. Like, I'm like, bro, it was so nice. It was like, the hand was cracked, you know, I'm not gonna lie. Like it was insane. Like, I drew all engine, but it was beautiful because I just cracked to that board like nothing, dude. Like, pure engine, you know, I broke through 4 interruptions. Like, I was like, yo, I'm nice. Like, I'm nice right now. This deck, like, when you draw good, playing, like, the Virtual World Swordsoul deck, it's actually insane the feats you can pull off. Even against Splight, Tier Elements, against Punk, against Brave decks. Even against other rogue decks, you know, there's like a lot of diversity in the format, but the spotlight is clearly on the newer archetypes. But like, there's still Sword Souls, there's still Despia, there's still Floowandereeze. This deck is one of the few decks that can, in archetype specific cards, function kind of like a side deck where you don't have to side in the out. Your engine already has the out. Even if you don't draw it, you can search it. So you can out cards like Barrier Statue. You know, you can out cards like M-Pen. You know, you can deal with the Baron, which is the most important card in the Soul Sword matchup. Baron and Blackout. But there's a lot of ways to play around Blackout. You can summon Juju, target Juju, and they can't pop it. So your stuff just resolves, you know. You can make Fan Fan. You can clear the Monk, and then you can force like Chi Shao. You can make Zeus. There's so many ways to pressure Blackout. Baron's the only card that matters. So, like, this deck's engine is just really good. The biggest problem with Virtual World is not really that the deck's not good. It's just its problem is it loses to itself more than it loses to other things. So when you have a deck that that's really like the biggest weakness, it just feels like, man, if this deck just had another wave of support with like more starters, this deck would actually be insane. I would bet money on that. Like, that if Virtual World got like 2 more in-hand effects, this would be one of the best decks. Because like I said, it's not the best anything. It's just so good at everything that it does. It doesn't do anything in a minor scale, you know. It's just very well rounded, and these are the kind of decks that I like. I love mid range. It's everything. Mid range is the perfect balance. 3 E-Tellies. Your normal summon oftentimes goes to the Swordsoul cards. So E-Telly is just so vital. This also trades with Appaloosa. That's why whenever I play E-Telly, I always like to play 1 Ogre. It's like my philosophy. If I'm playing E-Telly in a deck, you have to play Ogre because of Appaloosa. And cards like that, it really does matter, even when trading with Zeus. Appaloosa cannot negate if you Ogre it because it can't lose attack, hence you cannot negate. And just E-Telly into like the Swordsoul cards is amazing because, you know, Imper and Veiler are just so popular. You know, Salek is just so popular, and you can just E-Telly out of Ogre or Lulu, and bam, Yazi, draw a card, or Foolish, and bro, sometimes you can full combo off of that. It's kind of insane, I'm not gonna lie. And then we have some going second cards. Not a lot, because to be honest, I look at these, like, this is how I look at it. Like, these are going second cards simply for the fact that these are must negates. Even if this doesn't get negated, it's going to put something out that's going to trade with the negate. So the way I look at these is these are all going second cards. To me, a going second card is not just a hand trap. Hand traps are intended to prevent plays from happening, which is proactive. But there's a such thing as reactive going second cards, meaning they can be used playing into an established field. Because you're not going to just stop your opponent from making a board every time. Like, you're not, sweetie. You're not, boo-boo. You're not. I'm sorry, honey. You're not. Like, you're not. Like, there's no perfect world where you just draw enough hand traps to your opponent ends on 0 interruptions. It's just not happening. So you're always playing into some type of board, whether you hand trap them or not. So that's why I look at these as going second cards, because they can allow me to make better plays into established boards. And the way they trade when you draw them in composition with other engine cards is insane, because the plays that you can make with these going second are sometimes better than the plays you make going first, especially when in combination with Gamma. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. They are must negates, every single one of them. So these are just going second cards. People just won't look at them that way, but they are. Trust me, especially the way I use them. When your cards are multi-purpose, you don't cut those. You do not cut multi-purpose cards. If it only does one thing, it's cuttable. But if it can function going first, going second, in situations where you need to recover, in situations where you need to break a board, when in a situation where you need to make a board, you don't cut those. So 3 Dark Ruler, we have 3 Gamma, the Driver, and the Ogre. It used to be 2 Nib, 2 Ash, 2 Imperm, 2 Talents, Ogre, Gamma, Driver. And I was breaking. On hand traps too. Like every hand that I bricked, I was drawing hand traps. I was drawing like 2, 3 hand traps. And then literally 1 target and 1 hand effect, which means I lose to any 1 interruption that can stop it. So that's not playable to me. If I draw 1 play, it's not playable. Because remember how I said, my mindset is like, my opponent always has it. Like, I'll put my opponent on you better have it all the time, but I play as if they have it. I'm not a reckless Yu-Gi-Oh player, you know? I'm very, you could say, moderate, you know? The way I play is just conservative or moderate, you know? I don't really commit unless I know it's safe. And if I don't have another choice, I'll commit. But typically, if I have the choice, I'll play very reserved, you know? Because I need to check first. I go off a checklist. I check for Ash. If they don't have Ash, I feel like if you had Ash, you would have used it. So if you haven't used it at this point, you don't have it. Now I need to check for Nib. I check for Nib. You don't have Nib. Now I'm going to commit, right? Now I'm playing, you know? Now I'm in there. Like, I don't have to play safe anymore. But until I check for those things, I'm going to play reserve. I'm going to play moderate. This is why I've topped so many events adapting to this mindset, you know? And this is a really good mindset as a player. So these are like all the going second cards, quote, quote, right? The rest of the engines, just the Chuche, the Zhanwu, the requirement, Snow. If you don't play Snow, you can't, your full combo can't get Swordsoul cards. Because like you Beatrice for the Snow, and you use the Snow plus any of your like level 3 tuners like Nian Yan or Lulu, and you make Yazi and pop it with your Chuche. So like your full combo can get you into Taiye or Moyi. And Call is just broken. It's just broken. I don't know what to say. So that's the main deck. Should be 44 cards. Extra deck, it's 14 cards. So I actually cut Vermilion Dragon Mech for Chin Yang. This card overperforms. Especially with Snow, this card's just too good. Literally, this is like, probably past turn 2, this is like the best card that I can summon. There's just no way, you know. When this card hits the field, I just like, bro. Chuche and Shinshin with this, anytime I Chuche, it doesn't say target a face-up card on the field and pop it. It says target a face-up card on the field and banish it. When I banish that card due to Shinshin being up, Chin Ying, banish, banish, pump, pump, shrink, shrink. This card's nuts. Sometimes it's better than Baron, but I do play 2 Tans, this and Baron. I just sold my Baron. That's why I said it's 14. And when I need Baron, I just borrow it. And then, you know, Shinshin, only 9 I played. I used to play Vermilion, and it was mainly because of the Lulu plus Qinglong hand. But I actually learned, I feel like, a more optimal combo. And in that hand, you just, instead of dumping Lulu plus Zhanwu, that's one of the reasons why I don't like cutting Zhanwu, because of hands like that where if you don't play it, you can't play. So that's why it's like, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. That's one of my biggest sayings. Like, I say that, and it almost sounds like it becomes a cliche, but I say stuff for a reason, because I always speak from experience, you know? I don't just copy and repeat stuff that I've heard other people say. I think for myself, and I speak from my own experiences. But Vermilion Dragon Mech comes up in that, but instead of dumping Lulu plus Zhanwu, you dump a 6 in Zhanwu, you make Beatrice, and you dump Qinglong, and then you use Qinglong to add Lulu, and you use Lulu to target spell, and you dump Chuche, and you add monster, and you play like that. Versus Lily dump, Zhanwu Lulu, make Mech pop itself, add Lulu back, target spell. Instead, you just make Beatrice. And that way, you also end on an interruption, because you can dump Snow on your opponent's draw phase, when Beatrice already got you mileage by getting you a Zhanwu. So that's my Lily plus Qinglong combo. So that's why I don't really need Mech anymore, because other than that, you don't really need it to, its ability to, like, clear cards. This deck's already so good at, like, clearing cards going second. Like, you have, like, all your Virtual World Synchros are insane, right? You're, like, Fan, Juju, Shinshin, all insane. Going second, most of the time they're better. You know, this deck's just so good already at breaking boards. And you have the Swordsoul cards, you have, like, Yazi, Baxia. You know, you just have so many ways to clear cards. You have, like, Chuche, It's just insane. You have Zeus. Like this deck also recycles its powerhouses because you can banish them with Shinshin and use your Nyan Nyan to recycle them back. So I can put back my Moyi, I can put back my Zeus. I recycle anything that I need. So I have a baby pot of avarice. So like you have all these powerhouses that let you just break boards naturally and you just put them back. I just really like it. So typically it's 2 10s, 1 9. Chi Xiao and Baxi are the only 8s. Yazi's the only 7. And then you have the best 6s you could play. I don't cut any of these. These are all great. This specifically, when it comes, because Swordsoul was super popular not too long ago, and this was one of the best plays you would go to. Like, if you had to go, start off your play with normal summon, then you would normal target, and then you'd make this, you know, and you would make it with your protection, if you can. If not, then you don't go for this play. But if you can, you go for this, because this becomes the only card you target, so that Blackout cannot interact with your hand effects to cause them to fizzle. Like, they can Blackout, but it's going to resolve because this card can be destroyed. Which is amazing, you know, so... And there's also like the fan interaction where like you force them to black out your fan and you just get like a free Zeus or you get like a free Shinshin or a free Ultimate Zolkin based on what you already had. Speaking of Zolkin, Crystal Wing, Zeus, Beatrice, M7, and Fan. I love Fan. Fan's broken. Card's crazy. Like you make Fan, pressure a board, they negate and destroy it. It's like, whoa! I just made a Zeus. This card's nasty. It's super good. I think the best play you can make off of it is to go Nyan Nyan Lulu. You go Nyan Nyan Lulu, it's just insane. It's freaking nuts, dude. The one thing that I miss a lot in this extra deck is a rank 3, like more specifically Break Sword. It comes up all the time. But I just feel like Chin Ying is just so much better because this is the only card I would really cut. Everything else I would never cut, especially not Beatrice, because this in itself is a floodgate. You know, post signing, this gives me access to Mischief of the Gnomes for like Splight. And for, you know, VW, for Sword Souls, for a lot of different matchups. Any deck that needs specific levels, if they're making like XYZ, stuff like that, Synchro and XYZ decks lose to Mischief of the Gnomes. Then you've got Zombie World. You know, you got Token Collector. This was when Swordsoul was so popular. You know, there's so many floodgate techs that you can play via Beatrice, which makes her so many interruptions by herself that being floodgates, it's more valuable. They're proactive cards. They're not really gonna be affected by a lot of board breaking cards, and they moderate tempo. You know, they can force your opponent to play slower. So Beatrice is just non-negotiable. So yeah, that's my deck profile. Thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah, sorry if you feel like I ramble, but this is just how I make content. God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for future content. You have a beautiful night. All right, peace.